You're listening to Rodney Rogers Outdoors Radio, where we turn it upside down and look at the outside from the inside out. It's safe, it's legal, and we're having a blast. So put your shoes on, my friend, because we're going outdoors.
Welcome to Rodney Rogers Outdoors. I am Rodney Rogers. That right there doing the boogie woogie is Michael the man himself, Coy. Partner coach, he's a crime. How you doing, Michael?
Look forward tonight to seeing you.
Our one hour vacation during the week. Waiting outside, just enjoying the cool weather, the beautiful sunset.
I think winter's giving it one more try.
He's trying.
One more shot.
Oh, Jack Frost don't have a chance in the state of Florida.
I think it was 46.
It was chilly
this morning.
I actually put a jacket on.
Everybody else around the country is going chilly, right?
Well, up yours.
Yeah, chilly. So, I had to get out the long johns one more time. I put them away. Yeah.
Oh, you had already stacked them up.
I'd stacked them. I thought we were done.
If you want to participate in the show tonight, feel free, absolutely free, to give us a shout at 262-345-7763. You can see the number right on the bottom. It's a toll-free number. Don't hesitate to call. I don't think I've ever said it's toll-free. Is it toll-free? Well, it's not going to cost you anything. Now you can call Guatemala for free. I mean,
aren't those days done?
Yeah, I think they are done.
I was actually thinking about that the other day, the days of
long distance.
I think more the text messaging may apply because that's where the phone companies get you, but I think pretty much maybe internationals where you would probably have to watch out.
The easiest way to just...
But it is actually is not a toll-free number.
So technically it's not toll-free.
It's just a phone number.
Just a phone number. I got you. Yeah, and now...
Send Rodney the bill.
Yeah, send me the bill. We'll pay it. If you want to come right in on the show, before the phone number, dial 911. They'll put you right through to us.
Happens every
time. That Rodney Rogers again. And then dial the show number, and voila. You'll be in a treat for your life.
And do not send us the bill for the ambulance ride, though.
When you're arrested. If you want to send us a tweet, you can tweet us. You can tweet Mike Coy directly. He will read it on the air. We do it every week at hashtag RROR, Rodney Rogers Outdoors Radio, and Mike will get it right there on the screen, and pow, and I'll get the question eventually, because Mike will read it.
Yeah.
So
that's the best way if you don't want to call us and be on the air.
Yeah.
Tweet us. If you don't want to do anything live, email us.
And you can email us at info@RodneyRogersOutdoors.com, or you can do Rodney at RodneyRogersOutdoors.com.
Perfect.
Or you can even do Mike at Mike. Or you can go to the website and click on send voicemail, and we'll pile that up as well.
There is if you go to the website on the right-hand side, there's a bar that pops up. You can just click it.
I'm looking at it
right now.
Start talking. And pow, there it is. Oh,
now you've done it. Oh, now you're there.
Voila, send voice message.
Start recording.
Says start recording. 1, record. 2, listen. 3, send. And we'll get it if you have a question. We'll be doing our viewer emails tonight, and then we'll be just talking about the outdoors. This is what we do. Mike, how was your weekend? Did it stay beautiful where you guys were at in Naples?
Yeah, we were down southern Florida, just north of Alligator Alley there.
Right.
And it was. You know what? There was a lot of rain in Florida this weekend.
We had it up here.
Had it up there, and a buddy of mine spent the weekend in Sarasota, and he said they got slammed.
Okay.
But it literally is one of those weekends where it split.
Wow.
And, it's like the seas parted and went right around us. We got like 15 minutes of showers Saturday afternoon, and that was it. We had a great weekend. It was balmy.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, it was. Okay. It's one of those days where if you're in the shade, you're all right, but if you're in the sun, you were sweating.
Ooh, yeah, you were. Yeah, losing weight. I do got to give a shout out to that Goodies powder. Thank you, Goodies. That thing was delicious. Absolutely delicious.
We should own stock in Goodies powder. Not just any Goodies powder, the orange stuff.
That's the one I'm talking about. I mean, you could almost eat that like candy.
We order that actually, I think maybe through Amazon, and the truck backs up every Friday.
And unloads.
Dumps it onto the drive.
You know what's funny is I went in and I'm asking your wife, and she's nowhere around. I just opened the drawer and grabbed one. I said, I know where these things are.
Now, you know what? It's funny. not to get totally off topic, but it's what we do.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Speaking of Amazon, because now they have those buttons that you can install. Have you seen this?
No, I've not.
Around your house, because they're pushing the one-touch order thing. So
Right.
you can click once and it shows up at your house.
Really?
And it took me a while to convince my wife that the Amazon Prime would be worthwhile, and it is.
Okay.
Love it, love it, love it.
Really? Okay.
And now they've got these buttons that you can install on predetermined products, say dish soap or laundry soap. When you're out, you press the button.
Stop. And it orders it and ships
And it shows up at your door. So basically, it's a one-touch button ordering system.
Right.
That's product specific.
Yeah.
So you can put that whatever you want to around your house. Literally, I'm out. You press the button. It shows up the next day or whatever, depending on.
So would that work if I made
Isn't that
like
crazy?
grilled cheese and then put a button beside my grilled cheese and just wham it?
I think it's amazing, though.
That is amazing. Technology is.
When they started talking about the drones, everybody
Yeah.
poo-pooed it and thought it was. I'm not so sure now. I'm not so sure we won't see something like
Well,
that.
they got the pizza little delivery car about to come around.
Did you
Did
see that?
Yes. I'm like, come on, man.
What a
I'm gonna rob this car.
As somebody who's fascinated with the marketing of things, that's brilliant.
It is brilliant. Do you think they'll do it in little neighborhoods, where golf carts are legal? Because that ain't coming to my neighborhood. That thing will be sitting on blocks, I'm telling you.
Not if it keeps moving.
It's got to stop at some
You
point.
can pass the pizzas out like a frisbee.
There you go. Buzz, buzz, buzz.
Hit your front doorstep.
It'll be
and
like
skips.
a radio voice. Here's your pizza. Remember, Will, brush your teeth.
But how cool to have an oven just to keep it hot when it gets there. I mean, it's brilliant on what they're doing there.
That is brilliant.
I thought it was a spoof commercial when I first saw it.
I did too. I
it's
thought,
not.
surely they're not going to do this.
So how was your weekend? Thanks for asking about mine.
It rained. I didn't do it. I did get out and fish. I caught a couple real nice fish. I didn't post it. I figured people are probably sick of seeing my bass. So I was trying to, actually what I did is I kind of did some reconnaissance. I did some turkey reconnaissance. I did some, because I want a turkey hunt this weekend. I do have a turkey hunt coming Thursday and Friday with Peter Updike.
No, that's up north.
That's in Ocala,
Okay.
and he texts me, we got birds, so I'm assuming we
Okay.
got a lot of birds.
Okay.
I'm definitely excited about that. I cannot wait for that. So I'm hoping we can get into some birds. This will be my first shotgun turkey harvest if I'm able to get one with my shotgun. And I'm taking the shotgun that my dad gave me 20-some-odd years ago, the old Pump 870. I'd love to take a turkey with that. I mean, I really would. So I got my fingers
That'd
crossed.
be very cool.
I went, well, let's throw that in top news. I wish, I don't be friendly, super friendly, almost kitty cat friendly alligator. And when I mean friendly, Mike, if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, could an alligator be this friendly? I would tell you are nuts. But she has this alligator trained to where she could stick his finger in her mouth.
Well, first of all kinds of illegal flags are thrown
Oh,
up.
yeah. It's definitely caused some super duper red flags.
But again, I know nothing. This is the first I've heard about this when Dawn tweeted this. RROR.
So
hashtag.
let me see if I can get that. Lakeland, Lakeland.
Well, your spelling is spot on tonight, Rodney. I'm going to give you kudos for that. But how has this not immediately been?
Pet alligator, and in a freaking baby. You see this alligator's mouth open and
There's
she's kissing it, right?
Something wrong here. Something's not adding up, Rodney.
And first of all, she says she's had this alligator for 10 years. It's a 6-foot alligator. It's almost impossible for an alligator to be 10 years old and be 6 feet long. And
something's amiss.
She thinks it's a male.
Is there video of this,
Yes,
or is it all photographs?
Oh no, there's a half-hour video on this girl, and she says I mean, dude.
Well, it reads obviously. And this.
Look at this, Mike. I mean, she's got it driving the car here, and no one's crying abuse here. I mean, come on. If I was doing that to my kitty cat, I'd be all the cat lovers in the
You're
world.
doing that to your child, you'd be in trouble.
Absolutely. So I mean, this is one cool gator. I mean, this is all he does. She feeds it. She's obviously a sandwich short of a picnic on my, if I had to guess. I mean, it's these things don't stay like this forever. We've not put this much research into these kind of animals to have one for a pet for so long.
Now, Todd's saying she has a permit.
She has a permit. Okay.
But the gator is big and she needs more property to be able to keep it.
So that's what it is. Because the clip I saw that she was trying to get an updated permit or her permit was outdated or something, and she's trying to get a grandfathered in permit kind of thing. So
yeah, this opens up a whole bag of questions for
yes.
Because I was under the impression that unless you were a zoo or a conservationist, you couldn't touch, interact with on.
Well, you can get special permits to have alligators for educational purposes and or scientific.
Because we've talked, meaning my wife and I have talked about figuring out how to get you so that you could do demonstrations, or if you were probably not on-air conversations,
right?
But to be, as a guide,
right?
Could you interact with I guess in the wild you cannot.
In the wild you could not. There's no permit for that unless you're doing scientific studies and you're officially scientific. It's not that you can swim with them or anything. You can you can research them, pick them up, catch them, tag them, whatever the case. But at some point she has gotten a permit to keep a small alligator. Now, when you keep an alligator like that, they have to have specified living quarters. Specific to the species and the size, and I think that's what's going on here. And Todd will keep us abreast. Honestly, I meant to do my research on this, and I just
that's
totally.
The first I'd heard. I don't watch a lot of TV, so that's probably wild.
Yeah, me either. And so the Phillips Files was asking me, is this even possible? How true is this? And I said, well, here's the thing. Alligators respond to pattern. So if you put a pile of chicken in one spot every single day, now, of course, eventually the alligator will move over. But let's just say you put it on spot A, 10 feet over. Every 2 hours, you moved it to spot B, 20 feet away. 2 hours later, you moved it to spot A again. And you did this every day. They would pattern where that chicken's going to be and when it's going to be there. So their brains aren't big enough to, sort problems out in the most sense of the word. They're more of a pattern thing. They go, okay, it's here, it's here this time, and then they'll eventually figure out that it's going to be there at that time, and that's where I'm going to be.
Okay.
So the best I can come up with, now there again, I'm self-scientific, so to speak, this thing is...
Not sure what the purpose of putting it in front of a computer.
Yeah.
With the keyboard is.
This alligator is in heaven right now. He's the best treated alligator on the planet right now.
So if an alligator got in the routine of knowing it's being fed by this person at this time, is that enough to keep it from snapping at it when you go to kiss it?
To a degree, it obviously is.
Obviously, it's still a wild animal, so there's still some unpredictability.
I think at some point, if she's not careful, her movements, if you see her interact with this alligator, are very slow and precise, which they should be. Any hastily moves or, could kick its instinct in. Because remember, that alligator, 6 foot long, his brain is.
I'm going to guess she's had it since it was just a hatchling.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I don't
because I could see that being if that's all it's ever known.
Right. Exactly. I'm going to say
obviously it's been raised to appreciate the 4th of July and Christmas.
Exactly.
So it's had some history there.
It's had some Christmas presents here. So I would safe to say that.
That's cool. That's awesome.
It's not 10 years old.
No, and any alligator that could drive an ATV's got my vote.
Got my vote, man.
That's pretty cool.
You know what? If she's got a permit, hey, why not? Have an alligator.
Lakeland?
In Lakeland. Okay. Lakeland, Florida.
What's her name?
Her name is
Mary.
Crazy Lady.
Nope. Crazy.
No?
Nice.
I'm sorry.
I was trying to get her on the show, and now you...
Yeah, sorry. I blew that, Mike.
So we'll just have to call it the Crazy Lady
segment.
Hello,
Crazy Lady segment. So... it'd be cool to have a pet alligator.
It's time for our Crazy Lady segment. Welcome, Crazy Lady.
Careful what you ask for. One flicker in Polk County. And so here's the thing. So, Mike, this is definitely Todd and Dawn. Thank you for bringing that up. That's actually great top news. I mean,
hadn't heard anything about that.
Yeah. So I was on the Phillips file telling them that exactly what I just told you about the whole pattern thing. So intriguing. I'm really intrigued and would like to, and I'm sure everybody wants to study that a little more. How is she getting away with that? Not getting away with it
I
per
actually
se,
would
but
I'd love to talk to her because there's some very intriguing questions there.
I will work on that. Maybe for next week's show we can get her on because by then all the news people will have slowed down
Sure.
by then,
Yeah.
and maybe we could squeeze in the back door,
Sure.
so to speak, metaphorically, metaphor.
Squeezing. Rodney, let's talk snitch snakes.
Let's. That was my name back in the day.
Snitch snakes.
Mike. Tell me about snitch snakes.
Well, we got an email from one of Kim's friends named Jane, who's an artist down in Naples, Florida, which is where we were at this weekend. And she has a friend who's a scientific researcher for the Naples area, and I'm going to bumble on this a little bit. Basically, the article was talking about them catching pythons in the Naples area. And in the course of it says, following the month-long Burmese python removal competition designed to remove as many snakes from the Everglades as possible, there still remains inordinate amount of pythons. And researchers who have been tracking these Burmese
This is so fun.
I want to say Burmese.
You do. Prometheus, come forth.
Pythons captured more than 1 ton over the last 3 months in southwest Florida. Among the 43 pythons removed, researchers found the largest male python ever documented in South Florida.
Wow.
Measuring 16 feet and weighing more than 140 pounds.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Burmese pythons, it says, are cracking the code of Southwest Florida habitat, learning how to survive and breed locally. Over the last 3 years, researchers at the government agency have enlisted the help of captured pythons, which brings us to snitch snakes. By tagging snitch snakes with radio trackers, the researchers hope to study where the pythons are living in order to catch other snakes. So basically, they put these GPS trackers on them and send them home.
Right.
I mean, how brilliant is this, using technology?
You realize if that was around when we were kids, all of our buddies would be in trouble too. You know,
And us.
And us.
Yeah. So 15 adult pythons are currently being surveyed by radio tags.
That's amazing.
So scientists can learn more about the ecological implications of the invasive species. For example, a captured python named Captain Kirkland has been credited for the removal of 43 snakes.
Wow.
I mean, this is brilliant. So they capture, rather than saying, let's kill them, they tag them and put them back in.
See,
And
you do.
yeah.
You realize that if snakes had arms, he could be frisked and they would catch him with a bug every time. It would be.
Can you imagine if your buddies, if you're a snake and your buddy caught you with one of these tags, though?
Oh, dude. Stranglehold.
You're a snitch.
Yeah.
But these snakes are...
That's amazing. Technology at its finest.
Exactly.
Absolutely at its finest. That's it.
Yeah, so it allows them to gain better understanding of the animal's movement patterns, where it's going back to sleep. And due to the massive amount of pythons, the creature has become one of the top predators in the Everglades, morphing the area's ecological landscape.
That's amazing.
I mean, it's pretty bizarre. It says the ecological impact of removing so many adult pythons from a relatively small area of Collier County can have a positive impact on the native wildlife. What else? And as we all know, it says, once an exotic pet, officials trace the Burmese python's entry into the ecosystem to 1992 when Burmese pythons escaped from a breeding facility that was destroyed during what hurricane, Andrew? Oh. Dang it!
Hurricane Rodney. Hurricane Rodney down there.
Dang it. So much for the bonus point.
Cut. You know what? The best part of this whole thing is you pulled snitch snake out without, just
I know.
wham. Snitch snake. You were like all over it. But Bermethia pither is just, it just totally, you blew it.
What?
Hurricane Andrew, right? It destroyed the pet stores and
That
poof, we
damn
got-
Hurricane Rodney.
That is
But I
absolutely intriguing.
I love
That's how do we become a part of that?
Yeah. Well,
other than going
and
to-
the reason Jane sent this to my wife is because one of the gentlemen in the pictures, there, one of the researchers, is a friend of hers, so they got
Okay.
kind of some inside information.
wow, we got to
too.
do a lot of friend of a friend talking, don't we? I'll be the inoculator. They can call me inoculator. Prometheus, you know what I mean?
You don't. Moral of this story is you don't want to be a snitch
You
snake.
don't want to be a snitch snake. You get frisked by one snake and poof, it's all over. They got you.
Oh my goodness, Rodney. Red drum assessment has been completed.
Has it really? Already?
Does that mean anything to you?
Yes, it does actually. They've been doing an assessment to see that they want to change the limits. In some places, they want to raise them. But here's the problem with this. I'm going to let you talk, but let me go ahead and say what I got to say. With this brown algae kill that has killed hundreds of thousands of fish over here in the Indian River Lagoon, we could be reassessing very soon. There are tens of thousands of sheephead, which are delicious fish, and we go over to the Indian River to catch these sheepheads every year, and they're just tens of thousands of these things that are dead. So tell me about the.
Well, quite honestly, I don't want to get into it, Rodney.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us tonight. You kids get outside and stay.
And the reason is and I've said this before. The more I'm on the FWC website,
Yeah.
the depth of the information that's there.
Yeah.
And from a casual observer, when you talk about the outdoors, you go fishing, you get a license, you go to Walmart, you get a license,
Right.
you can go fish. That's only such a sliver of the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
On even when you think about who's the FWC, what are they, what do they do?
Right.
Why do they exist? What does a law enforcement officer, what's his life entail? What's, and the rules and regulations and how these things come about
Right.
is an industry. And there's rhyme and there's reason behind every bit of it.
Every move. Yep.
And when I go, quite honestly, every week to go to the news, the top news of the FWC website,
Right.
and pick that article, just that one article, if you start digging down, and I say this every week, it raises more questions that you want to find out why and how. And oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Right. Right.
And this is one of those articles that the actual headline was the red drum assessment has been completed.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now, what does
Good
that mean
for you
for
guys?
us?
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, what that means for us is they're trying to assess take-home limits. Our harvest limits. Can we harvest more fish now? Can we take from the southern zone, which is from the Mosquito Lagoon south all the way around the tip of Florida, just below Tampa? You can only keep one fish per day. And from the north zone, which is, the Jacksonville section, and then north of Tampa-ish range, you can keep 2 fish. So we want to, we're doing the assessment to assess, should we be keeping larger fish and more of those fish? Should we raise the harvest limit from 18 to 28 to, say, lower it down to 16? Because we're catching so many more 16-inch fish.
And the reason they're doing this is overall health of the species.
That's exactly right.
Longevity.
That's exactly right.
So they do these assessments, they put a plan in place, and then they reassess to see how the plan is going. And even that sounds simplistic. But what I would like to do, Rodney, and I propose, should you choose to accept it, that next week's we dig into the red drum stock assessment for 2015.
Let's do it. And I will make some emails, and we'll get some deeper answers than what we're scraping the surface.
Yeah, this week I believe they're doing in a Bass Pro Shop. I believe it's up in the Tallahassee area.
Right. Yeah.
A presentation of this, but it'd be phenomenal if we could get somebody to call in and go over. We can put the PowerPoints up on screen for talk about.
That's exactly right.
Because I am, and again, even as a novice, I'm fascinated by the depth and the thought and the strategy that goes into all this stuff that the casual fisherman, and rightfully so, don't need to worry about.
Absolutely. We got this kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's great that they do that. This exists and these things, and this is just for one species at this snapshot in time. They finished the assessment for the red drum, but how many species? I mean, but
hundreds.
This is what the FWC does, and this is what your license applications fees go to,
and your voluntary carcass turn-ins.
Exactly. All of those things
all
start
of those
to play
little
in place.
things add up, and that's why it's so important when they're at the boat ramp. You'll see this volunteer guy say, "Hey, what'd you catch today?" Most people go, "I didn't catch a dang thing."
They get all freaked out
Yeah,
because
they
it's somebody
do.
with a uniform on.
That's exactly right. We saw it. Remember in the Everglades, we saw it in the Everglades. We spoke to the gentleman down there, and he was just doing a fish assessment.
He was doing assessment.
Prometheus.
Matter of fact, you told him you liked his assessment.
You sure got a good looking assessment right there, buddy.
But
I've
downloaded
exactly
the PDF, and I'd like for you and I to go through because again, I'm the type I like to learn 3-dimensionally.
Right.
I hear something, but then I like to dig deeper and learn it from a different angle. And once I get a 3D picture of it in my mind, I got a pretty good grasp of what's going on.
Right.
But I don't like just reading it from one perception.
Right.
I like to get a whole picture of it.
Basically breaking it down to layman's terms.
And these PDFs, which is readily available to the public on the FWC website, they go into the 40%. It's not survival rate, or how they assess and what the target is of these assessments, what they're actually trying to accomplish, and it's age of the fish and for X number of time. But I'd love to get into it with you because you can help walk me through some of these other questions that have popped up. And it's a little, so tonight I will leave it as the red drum stock assessment has been finished for 2015. Whip-de-ding sounds easy.
Let's break it down.
But break it down, and it's fascinating.
Cool.
It really is fascinating.
Make sure I get that link. Did they email that?
You know what?
Did you find it?
I found it in the news.
Okay.
I found it in the news.
Gotcha. Because
it was one of the
normally I get those emails and I don't remember seeing.
I get the emails too, and I did not see that one, but
Okay.
it wasn't in the news. One of their top headlines. You know what else was in the news?
What's that?
Boca Grande pass gear. Here we go. I'm loading the page. Boca Grande pass gear restriction boundary shifts.
Okay.
Okay, exactly.
I'm kind of stumped on this one.
Okay, I'm gonna put a graphic up so people can see what I'm talking about here.
Let's graphic it.
You won't see it. They will,
Okay.
though. Actually, you will, Rodney. Or will you?
Okay, yeah, I do. Okay. So
You're very astute.
you zig when you zag. Okay, I got you. There we go.
So, sands shift, and when they do, sometimes buoys or boys.
Okay, must be moved to change
Yes.
what's happened in the recent Boca Grande pass. Recent changes to the buoys marking the pass after the tarpon anglers. Oh, okay. Another fish in the pass during months of April, May. So basically what's happening is there's a lot of current flowing through here.
Yep.
And let's take this picture. Our viewers seeing this as
They
well?
are. Yep.
Picture this, if you will, as the Port Canaveral port. Now, the Port Canaveral port has a lock, and people go, why don't we just open the locks? And this is going to explain this as well. Why don't we open the locks and let the water flow so that brown algae can mix with ocean water, dilute it, basically flush? Here's the reasons. We have cruise ships in the port, and what happens is as that flow goes out, it takes sand with it. And right where the currents and eddies are, the sand piles up. And that's exactly what is happening here. These sands are shifting, so they're having to move buoys to shallow areas, not so shallow areas. So if you're used to the buoy being here, now they've moved it to X location.
Yep.
So they're basically saying, we've moved them. We want to make you aware. The sands have shifted. Don't run your boat up on the ground. So keep an eye on your depth.
I mean, you talk about attention to detail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is what the FWC does.
That's what I'm saying. The headline reads, Boca Grande Pass Gear Restriction Boundary Shift. Cool.
But, yeah.
Good for you guys. Yeah, but did you hear about the lady with the pet alligator? Right?
Yeah. Exactly. So, and that's what you're seeing. Boca Grande Pass, for those of you that do not know, is probably one of the best, the top tarpon spots on the planet. It is the where they fish the big tarpon tournaments that yield millions of dollars. It's one of Boca Grande's largest industries.
Yeah.
It's fishing, and it's gorgeous down there. The fishing is phenomenal. I mean, if you've never been down there, you have a kayak, a canoe, or a paddleboard, get down there and fish. Just get in the water and fish. You won't regret it. I'm telling you.
But again, the thing that amazes me, even if you want to start somewhere just learning for education purposes, and I sound like I work for the FWC
I know.
and the website.
We both do.
But on that article alone, as bland as that headline sounds,
right.
When I started scrolling down, I see things, the regulations that apply within this area defined as Boca Grande Pass include.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the things you need to know. These
Yeah.
are the regulations that do affect you when you're going out. Read what those are, Rodney.
Inside those buoy markers, so basically what we have fishing with gear that has weight attached to a hook, artificial fly, or lure in such a way that the weight hangs lower. And we can put an image up. This is called the tarpon rig, which is illegal. So basically you're snagging tarpon. Weight lower than the hook when the line and leader is suspended. We'll have to show an image of that.
Yeah.
I'll put it up there. Matter of fact, I'll post it tonight. Soon as literally.
But I'm saying you could do a whole show just on one of these headline articles.
Exactly right.
What's the next one say?
No more than 3 fishing lines may be deployed from a vessel at any one time during the months of April, May, and June. And the reason is that's tarpon capital of the world. There's 500 boats around you. And if you got more than 3 lines in the water, man, first of all, you're going to be a mess. You're not going to want more than 3 lines. And second of all, you're going to get everybody tangled up.
Okay.
So they're limiting these lines in that zone. And then no person shall use fish or place in the water any breakaway gear during the months of April, May, and June. No person shall use, fish with, or place in the water any breakaway gear. That one I'm not 100% sure
what
about.
breakaway gear is?
Yeah, I'm a little. It's a tarpon term.
Okay.
That they
But it
use.
makes you want to dig deeper and figure out what these.
I will know what breakaway
again, this
gear
is just a headline that seems so inconsequential when you first read it and you start digging. I'm like, well, there's regulations. Sounds like things you should know if you're tarpon fishing out there.
And it's inside those buoys.
Yeah.
That's the key.
And and again, back to the headline, that's what they're moving is the parameters where these regulations apply.
Exist. Exactly right.
You need to know that.
Exactly. So I don't know. There you have it.
I'm fascinated. I'm easily amused, but that the depth of the knowledge of that this stuff and what the FWC puts in place and what they spend their time figuring out to
Right.
know the shifting sands on the bottom
Yeah.
of the water.
Okay, so you ready for breakaway gear?
Breakaway gear. You got it?
If you switch to my screen, they won't be able to see, but you'll see it close up of a breakaway jig. And this is what I was talking about. So
Okay.
basically what happens is the tarpon comes up. See how that jig is only zip tied to the hook itself?
Okay.
Once they get inside the tarpon, there's so many tarpon, they can snatch that. That jig will come off. They can.
Sure.
They fish with this, and the jig will come off, and they can say, "Hey, I was fishing with live bait." That jig has to
I
be.
gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's considered a breakaway. I didn't know. I've seen that rig up a million times. I just didn't know what it was called.
Okay.
So fair enough.
Well,
Okay.
Rodney, you know what time it is, right?
Let's do
You've
it.
got mail.
Letters, we get letters, we get stuff.
Whoa, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
Send me an email with all the details.
Another freaking email. Another freaking email song.
Mail time. Mail time.
here.
Yeah, I'm a top flight, hold you tight, get you there by daylight, do you right overnight mail.
That's when I'm talking.
Rodney, it seems like you got an email or a Facebook. I don't really know where this came from, but you forwarded it to me so we could talk about it tonight. From Mike T. And he says, "Hey guys, I've been listening for a long time. It's a great show. I have a movement disorder called essential tremor, which makes tying a knot with fishing line next to impossible. I use clip swivels all the time as to not have to deal with trying to wrestle with the line. So his question is, am I at a disadvantage by tying a lure on directly every time I switch baits? Any thoughts would be great. Thank you."
And we replied to that email, and we're going to obviously reply on to here. And basically what I told him, absolutely not. You are not at a disadvantage at all. Actually, in more cases, you're actually at an advantage. You know, and I sent this to him, and we can even post this. Number one is it allows you for quick change. You know, you can change that lure out faster than anybody. I mean, you just snap it off, put another lure on, and poof, you're not retying. Number two is you're not retying. You know, and every time you retie, you lose anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of line. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So if you're fishing with expensive braided line or even fluorocarbon, you're shortening your line up. You know,
Okay.
every tie, every retie. So you shorten it up, and, you know, within a few months, next thing you know, you've cut 15, 20 feet, maybe even 30 feet of line off. And when you back up your line, poof, you're putting on another $21 worth of line. So if you're using a leader, then, you know, you're just replacing your leader. So that's an advantage. And a third advantage is as you make your cast, if you're fishing with a jig or some type of lure and it's spinning for whatever reason, it's got grass on it or something that's spinning, the swivel is actually taking the line twist out of your line versus without a swivel, you're putting it in your line. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So you cast, you know, your line is out there, your line is untwisting, and your lure is not moving. And it allows the eye of the hook to move, your bait to move freely in the eye of the swivel. Now, I also told him that these things are sold, a swivel is sold by poundage. Most people don't know that. You have a 5-pound swivel, a 3-pound swivel, a 10-pound swivel, a 50-pound swivel, 100-pound swivel.
Interesting.
So, I mean, you can get,
Sure.
you buy these swivels in poundage. So, what you do not want to do is put a 5-pound swivel on 10-pound test line because that is your weakest link. It may be easier for you to work, but
sure.
you're only fishing with a 5-pound swivel, which means a 10-pound bass could break that swivel, literally pull it right out of the bearing. Just pull it right out.
Okay.
So if you're going to fish with swivels only, use the good stainless barrel swivels that are ball bearing swivels. They're expensive, but you don't have to change them very often, and they are excellent, excellent swivels that'll last you a long time.
Good advice.
So that was our question from Mike T. Thank you, and I thanked him at the end. Thank you so much for listening. I mean, it's questions like, you know, his and everybody else's that come in that, you know, that certainly gives us the reason that we do what we do. So hopefully that helps you out. I am going to make Mike T. a video of a knot that he can tie, and, you know, and it should help him out. So I'm going to shoot that video this weekend, set up, and just do it nice and slow. So it's
Even if you just put that on Facebook or do a live video on Facebook.
even do a live
Great one,
video.
yeah.
So I call it my night knot because I can tie this knot at night. I don't even need to see it.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just put it in my hands, feel it, and then poof, tie the knot. So,
Cool.
whoo, man, that just talked me right out of breath. I feel like I ran a marathon.
Got a question from Relics Hunter. Said, so I'm wondering what everyone's opinion is on flashlights on the way to your turkey spot. I almost always inevitably run into moccasins in the woods every time I'm out. So my question is, do you think using a light will blow your turkey hunt, or are the birds unaffected by them?
In most cases, that's actually a great question. This is the time of the year that
We're still in turkey season, right?
we are just in the
just
beginning
starting, yeah.
stages of turkey season. You're going to find those superstitious guys. First of all, you want to be safe. Use your light. It's important that you're safe. Anything that compromises your safety is not worth harvesting a bird if you're going to get bit by a moccasin
Yeah.
or something of the sort. So if you're hunting a swampy area, definitely use your light. You could trip over a log, fall down on a cypress knee, and jam one right through your eyeball. So, I mean, there's 100 reasons you want to use your light. I always recommend using your light. You're not going to scare any birds away. If you're that close to the birds, you're too close anyway. Remember, when you come into the woods, you're in an area that you think there's birds. Locate them. That's where your locator comes in, and set up in an area. This is where your scouting should have came in. If you're just going into these woods for the first time, locate the gobbles. You don't want to be right up under them because they're already on you anyway.
Sure.
They've got to come out of that tree. So whether they see your light or not, they're coming out of that tree and they're going to land in the first available area. You want to be in that first available area. Use your flashlight. So, I mean, definitely. You're not scaring the birds away.
Okay, good. Here's one from Buckshot 423, Rodney.
Buckshot, come on.
Says, well, I had my gun stolen from my house about a year and a half ago, and have not recovered any of them since. I think my next buy will be a real fireproof gun safe. I had an all-metal one, like the ones they sell at Walmart, but it didn't hold up to a crowbar. Anyway, it makes me sick every time I think about my guns being gone.
Yeah.
So I need to get a new one. I need to get one caliber. So I need to get one caliber for now. My two favorites are the .243 and the .270. I have used both, but I'm seriously looking at the .270 WSM. What is the WSM?
It's a short mag. It's just actually 270 Winchester short or WSM comes or WMR. Yeah, Winchester short mag.
Okay.
So 270. But first of all, remember every time we talk about fishing or hunting, I always say narrow down your species.
Right. Yeah.
What are you going to hunt? What are you chasing? So first of all, you distinguish. Okay, I'm going to hunt nothing but whitetail with this rifle. So with this rifle, I'm going to hunt whitetail. I may hunt boar and anything smaller. 243 or 270 is great for that.
Sure.
With the 270, you can go up one notch and go bear hunting with the 270. After that, you're you start getting in the 30 caliber range, your 30-06s, your 300s, your 300 short mag, that kind of thing. So personally, out of those two rifles, it would be.
I haven't asked this question yet, just so you know.
Oh, you have it? Oh.
Nope. I was just asking what the WSM was.
Okay, sorry.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire beneath the Python.
Love it. Says, so do you know any good or bads about them? I know the ammo costs about $5 to $6 more, but the ballistics look very nice on this cartridge. Just wanted your thoughts.
Yeah.
If you could pick just one caliber for deer hunting here in Florida, what would it be?
It would be out of the two for Florida deer hunting, 270. That would be my pick. Absolutely my pick.
Why is that?
It's a little bit more knockdown, a little bit faster bullet. 243 is a very fast bullet. It's not quite as large. It's a point. Now, these are calibers. If you put a caliber on a 243 bullet, it would be .243.
Okay, gotcha.
And a 270 would be a .270. And then, on up. So a .50, the 50 calibers, are a half inch. That's .50.
Wow.
So, these are all measured in inches.
And that's the size of the actual bullet.
Not
the cartridge.
Not the cartridge.
This is the actual bullet.
The bullet itself, the actual lead that comes down the barrel. So, yeah, my overall between the two would definitely be a 270.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, have at it, man. 270.
270 it is. Good questions tonight.
Absolutely. Phenomenal.
And I've left you about 8 minutes for a topic.
That's fine. Our topic tonight, we're just willy-nilly, so we love these.
Well, you posted an interesting post this evening on Facebook, and if you're not following Rodney on Facebook, you should. Just
so
because.
Okay. Yeah.
As I said.
So basically, you saw what I posted. Mike, did you get to see it? So basically,
I did.
We talked about 7 months ago exactly. We talked about one of my mentors. You know, my Uncle Jerry. My mentors, my absolute the reason I do what I do today. Well, his partner in crime was my youngest uncle, which was 10 years older than me. He was 58. He just turned 58 2 weeks ago. Was his everywhere you saw him, you saw my uncle. My uncle was a little bit shorter than me. He was about the same size actually, 5'7". I'm 5'7", or 5'8", depending on which convenience store I walked in. And my uncle was 6'6". So you know these two were like the Ben and Jerry or the Penn and Teller kind of thing. If you saw my uncle, you saw my other uncle. Well, he passed away this morning. So, I mean, I got to arrow hunt with him a couple months ago, and we just had a heart-to-heart. We met up. You know, life gets busy. You get busy in life, and, and we were talking about, I wanted to do some arrowhead hunting. He says, well, here's some of my favorite places. And we're just walking on the side of the hill talking old times. You know what I mean? When we were kids, and, man, he would say, you remember when you and I would take our, because I was raised on single-shot rifles, single-shot 30-06, single-shot shotgun, single-shot 22, and I was raised to make your shots count. You know what I mean? There was times he would pick us up from school, hand me one bullet, and we'd go rabbit hunting. And one bullet, literally, here's the 22 shell. We would look around the seat of his truck, and hopefully we dropped one from last week, and we would go hunting. So he'd pick me and my cousins up. He'd hand each one of us a bullet. And then he would take one shotgun shell, and we'd come back with 4 rabbits. I mean, that's how I was raised. You know what I mean? And so, I got to say goodbye to him this morning, and he just one of those things when you got Jesus on your side, he's in a great place. That's the key. So, we were talking today of just old times. Me and my cousins all together, and just talking about when we used to go hunting. I even talked about the first time I actually ever saw a white-tailed deer in the wild was with him. We were hunting right here in Polk County, a place called Green Swamp. It's 30,000 acres. And it's a funny story. We're walking, and I had a canteen from Boy Scouts. And him and I filled it with water. It was them old metal canteens, right? So here we are. We're walking in the swamps. We had walked for hours. I didn't know, but the canteen had a hole in it. So, he pulls out the canteen, and he looks inside. This is no lie. And there's not hardly any water. It had all leaked out. The case that it was held in was just soaking wet. And his leg was wet, and we never noticed it. And there's like a swallow of water in there, and he hands it to me. Now, he doesn't even touch it. He hands it to me, and I look at it, and I go, oh, now I'm 11 years old, Mike. You hand a thirsty 11-year-old a swallow of water, he's going to swallow it.
Yeah, yep.
So I tipped that canteen up. There may have been 2 swallows. And I handed it back to him, and I did say thank you. And my gosh, I've never seen a man so mad in my life. He threw that canteen down. He goes, you realize there was 2 swallows? That was one for you and one for me. and I just had this look on my face like, oh, my God, I did. I selfishly,
Sure.
But I thought it was just an older guy trying to make a young guy survive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Show me the.
Yeah, you would have known.
But you know what he did is he took that bag that it was held in. It was insulated, and he squeezed it. He squeezed every drop. And he squeezed it back into the canteen. He took a swallow, and then he handed me the 3rd swallow. I mean, how cool was that? He was teaching me a lesson, and he did.
Sure.
I mean, that was a lesson, you share, you're in there.
Yeah.
So we're off again.
It's a lasting lesson there.
It was. Yeah. And my feelings are hurt because he yelled at me. I'm 11 years old.
Well, that made it memorable.
Oh, yeah, I assure you. So finally, we come to these palmettos, and he says, get down. So we get down, And I said, I'm down, but what is it? He goes, there's a deer, and it's literally 20 yards right there. Now, I've never seen a wild deer in my life, Mike. So I'm 11. Let me point out again. I'm 11. So what's the first thing I'm going to do? I want to see what a deer looks like, Mike.
Of course, yeah.
I don't even think about pulling my shotgun up with me.
see.
I ease up above the bushes. I look over and poof, there's that deer looking right at me. And I scare him off. He just starts jumping. Of course, I get yelled at again. So at 11 years old, we're walking this 1,000,000-acre swamp. I learned some valuable lessons that day. That was my first, time that I almost got killed drinking both swallows of water. So that was basically the reasoning of my post. My other uncles were there and basically said, look, this is a celebration.
Yeah.
He had cancer, and, you come to the terms with it, and when you just realize that, this is how it is. Phenomenal outdoorsman. As I said, there's no more. I don't have any more uncles that taught me what I know. Mm-hmm. This is the last of it. The torch has officially, been handed off. And, and as I said with my other uncle, this was my goal. How important it is to to press this to other people. I mean, look at you now. I mean, just from your interaction with me,
absolutely.
You've got outdoor stories now.
Yeah.
And you and I have been saying this the whole time. It's all about the story.
Yeah.
It's to me the one. He who dies with the best story wins.
No, it's true.
If that makes any sense. So that was kind of the reasoning of my post. I posted pictures that was basically just outdoors. Not necessarily of me holding a fish or me doing anything extravagant.
Well, whenever life gets complicated and you think I need to simplify, I need to simplify things and get back to the basics. Whatever that is in your mind, it seems like it's always it's outside.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the flower blooming. And those photos that you posted were simplistic,
Just
in that essence.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? The sun and the finding an old boat half sunk, just simple, basic outdoors. There's something.
It's the outdoors.
Yeah, there's something very therapeutic about that. And when you want to get things straightened out in your mind, get outdoors.
Tonight
Get
when
away.
I walked up, you're standing outside. It's just and what's your wife say first thing? You guys are outdoors? I want to go outdoors. And we stood in front of your house outside, just enjoying that sunset for what it was worth, and just and honestly, I think in a lot of cases, I think back of the small things he used to point out, a mark on a tree. He was big in Indian artifacts.
Really?
The native Indian. I mean, he felt really compelled to to study them, and he would say, this was done, who knows how many years ago by an Indian, and here's why they did it. They made this mark in the tree for this reason, to mark where they're going. It was their meeting spot, or it said something to someone else that came across that tree, whatever mark it was, And I remember back then going, yeah, whatever, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sure.
Again, I'm 12 years old,
course,
11, 12. What you're saying to me is probably registering, but say, let's find the animals. Let's look at why we're here. And it took years to understand, that each one of those little pieces of tidbit information was left behind was actually cookies, so to speak.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Crumbs of information that you just absolutely I enjoy now.
For sure.
It's just wow.
Building blocks of who you are today.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's exactly right. And I can honestly say, I think I've handed it off to quite a few people that I've tried to touch. You and I get out every chance we get. Yeah. And you and I will turn around and take a picture of the weirdest, and we just do it. I've learned that turning around is easy.
Yeah.
When you pass something, you go, man, that would have just been. Don't even have to take a picture of it. Just look at it. One of the pictures are water hyacinth, which is an invasive plant in the state of Florida, and I'm taking a picture of the beauty of an invasive plant. It's a gorgeous plant, and my gosh, the color in it was just so vibrant.
Yeah.
This is that time of year, just stop, smell it, whatever it is, unless it's dog turd. Don't do that.
Yeah,
don't smell that.
You just
You just blew the whole mood. Didn't you?
Yeah, I about said something nice about Easter and the hyacinth.
Oh, and then I went-
invasive species, and you said dog turd.
Well, tell me about the Easter hyacinth.
No, thank you.
Too late, huh?
Yeah, too late.
I was getting
But that's
bushy.
one of the reasons we do this is because we
Yeah.
have like-minded people who just who understand and get it and understand what you're saying. You know? I
Absolutely.
mean, that's why we're here.
I don't think anybody who's been in the outdoors hasn't seen some. I mean, you most of the time can't walk through your house and go, well, that chair right there and that angle is just an amazing angle. You know, the way the sunlight's coming through the window. No, you have seen that outside.
Yeah.
You know, if it's driving.
Yeah.
You know, if it's, you know, and most people see something beautiful and they want to turn around and look at it, get a better look, and they just
for sure.
never do. You know.
Yeah.
And it takes you 2 seconds out of your whole life to feed that part of, you know, your brain that
Yeah.
needs that what I call the beauty morsel, you know. So
I like that.
and that's why I do these. And these were just pictures that were just in and out of my phone that I don't post often. I just kind of went through and picked out a bunch of them, and then, you know, said to heck with it. Let's just talk about the
Yeah.
outdoors. You know, like we've done tonight. You know, it's absolutely, it's what I live for. I mean, it's why I've not had a television for the last 6 years.
Oh, that's why you've not needed a television.
Yeah,
too.
honestly, it is. Because I think, what
Yeah.
could I do? You know, could I sit in front of my television? I've got 6 years of no television.
Yeah.
That's all those hours have been spent outside, and man, I've learned so much. Even in the last 6 years.
Well, we've come to that time of the week again, Rodney, where
Again,
it's
Mike,
wrapping it up, and
That's it. Our next one's 9 hours long. I've had it.
and it's going to be 9 hours of red drum assessment. So get familiar with that PDF. Learn it, live
Mike,
it.
I'm going to get very familiar with the PDF.
So next week we'll talk about red drum assessment.
Let's do that. Let's
just to break it down,
Yeah.
because and it's fascinating to me, and the depth of knowledge that comes in one announcement, and that just repeats itself. You know, with
Absolutely.
every species. I mean, just to start wrapping your head around what the FWC is.
Right.
And this is just Florida.
Florida.
You know, and then
That's it.
I mean, it's just there's
That it's an ever turning wheel. Like I said, I've been to the Tallahassee office, which you and I need to make a trip up there
That'd
to
be fun.
see Tony and have lunch with him, and spend the day with him in his office. It's amazing.
well, if you can talk to Tony this week and find somebody who's all about the red drum assessment,
Okay.
who's a knowledge one, they could call in this week and because I've got their PowerPoint. I've got the FWC's PowerPoint presentation.
Right
So they should
on.
be quite familiar with that.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, before we run out of time, Tony sent me a video link to his turkey harvest video.
Okay.
Maybe we can put that for video of the week.
Done.
Is that cool?
Done.
I told him we'd throw that up on video of the week. It was
Perfect.
an absolute great hunt. And I'll email Tony. We'll get some information on that assessment. And next week we'll talk redfish
Done.
assessment. How does that
Absolutely.
sound?
Done.
Thank you, everybody, for listening
Yeah, for
tonight.
sure.
Thank you so much. God bless you to my uncle. I've not done this all day. Enjoy the friendly skies. You know what I'm saying? And as my mama said 18 trillion times, and if you don't do anything else, you kids get outside and stay.